Next step in the game is going to be to cut these pavers to get them to fit. Whatever you're doing, make sure you use the proper protection. Earmuffs, glasses, and dust masks. Cutting these pavers is cutting concrete. Concrete dust is not exactly good to breathe, so make sure you can take care of yourself when you're doing this job. Right here, I'm just going to show you some quick ideas or quick different tools you can use to cut. Guillotine splitters for a homeowner, great idea. You have no dust, no noise, and it's pretty safe to do. It's going to do a wide variety of cuts. If you're working with a tumble product, it's perfect. It's perfect. Anyway, it's good. But the thing is it's going to be a little bit limited because you're not going to be able to do all your miters and things like that. Some of the really tough cuts you're not going to be able to do as well with this. But guillotine's a great idea. The other one is a table saw. The table saw is going to give you a really true cut. If you're doing steps and like step treads, things like that, this is going to be the tool of choice for you because it's going to give you a really, really straight, good cut. The only thing about it, it's a little lunky, and you're going to have to carry everything to it. Last one, and because I've done this before, this is my favorite tool. It might not be for you, is a cutoff saw. And cutoff saw is probably the most dangerous one because you're basically doing this, but it's also the most versatile tool. So you're able to take, it's that old adage of taking your tool to your work and not your work to your tool. So now I'm going to go over here and we're going to just kind of talk about how you would cut this stuff. I'm not going to actually show you any cutting. It gets noisy and dusty, and just do it. First thing you can do is you can just measure and cut. You got a hole, you just measure, you cut it. That's as simple as that. You look in the tech guide, there's also a good demonstration, and this is actually, I would recommend doing this. You get to my page. It's a little bit windy out here today, so it's kind of tough to get to right where I want to be. But on page 33, they're showing using a cutoff saw. You don't necessarily need to use a cutoff saw to do this. You can actually just mark things and do it, and overlaying things and then kind of either cutting them in place or using the saw to scribe it. So what I mean by that is if I'm going to take a little bit of my soldier course up and I want to do like a 45-degree angle here. What I can do is I can take a straight edge or something, I can set it over the top, I lay my pavers long like this, and I can even mark it like that. Or I'm going to show you kind of a little trick. It works really good with curved applications. What you can actually do is come in here and take the pavers that are going to be your soldier course or your border, lay them right on top of the pavers like this, mark them, remove these, mark the pavers you don't need underneath with an X on a part you don't want, cut them. The reason this is a good idea or kind of a cool tip is in landscape, line is very important. It actually lines everything in landscape. And you start doing curvilinear designs and things like that, when you put the paver right on top of it, you got the ability to look at basically at brick by brick to make sure that that curve's right where you want it to be. So once you come in here and you mark it and you cut it, you're going to be moving on to the next step. But the thing is, you really got to take care of yourself. You know, don't get crazy with the cuts. Try to make it as easy as possible and protect yourself. You know, like you said, the earmuffs and all that good stuff. And once you get your pavers cut, you're almost done. Got a couple more steps, and we'll get to that next. Okay, the next step is going to be your edge restraint. Now, if you look at that video on YouTube, you're going to see this is one of the things I don't agree with. We talked about base extension. This base extension is critical at this point of the game. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to put your edge restraint in. Okay, plastic edge restraint. There's a lot of different types of edge restraints. There's aluminum, there's plastic. Some guys will even put in like a troweled edge. Me personally, I like plastic edge restraint. This stuff is snap edge, and that's because it snaps together. Just come in here and snap it together. It comes in 8-foot lengths. It's rigid like this, but if you have a curve, you can cut it. Now I kind of mutilated this one, but you can see you cut it and it'll bend. When I get done with this, I'm going to talk about kind of maintenance. And I think I know edging is a maintenance thing, and that's why I like the plastic edging as much as I do. Okay, but now you look at this, you see that I'm almost up to the top of the paver, and you remember we still have to tamp these pavers. So what you're going to do And now these pavers are what we call 6 centimeter pavers, or 2 3/8 of an inch. This is about 2 1/2, so you're sitting right there. Even with a Brussels or some of our Select Series products that are 2 3/4, I think you should do the same thing here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, I'm simply going to remove a little bit of sand right next to the edge. Slide this in there. I want to be about 2/3 of the way up on the pavers. Then I'm going to take 10 to 12 inch spikes, pound them in here. On your straight edges, you go 12 to 16 inches. Okay, that's fine. If it's curved, you basically got to put a spike wherever you need to put a spike in order to make sure that this stays in place. Okay, so you get that ready, get that done, and right before you compact it, what you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit of dirt, throw it over the top of that edge restraint, just to make sure that it doesn't move. And that's putting in the edging. After you put in the edging, the next step is going to be finishing and compacting these pavers. Okay? We recommend that you compact the pavers prior to putting any type of joining sand into the product. It's more critical the larger the paving stone is. Okay, if you got a 16 by 16 and an 8 by 8 or an 8 by 8 by 8 and 8 by 16 and a 16 by 16, it's more critical to compact that first than if it's like a Holland stone paver. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to compact it. Now, if you look at our product data guide, you're going to see that a lot of pavers we have recommended you cover them with a tamper. Me personally, I think you should cover every paver with, or not a tamper. When you're tamping it, you cover it with a pad or something to protect the paver. I think you need to cover it every time. And you can use a pad like on the bottom of a compactor. Use a thick piece of cardboard, thick piece of carpet, not cardboard, or like a thin piece of plywood. Lay it over the top just to protect the paver. I think it's a good idea. You've done all this work, and it's not like it's going to hurt the paver, but what it's going to do is you run the risk of chipping things and doing stuff like that that you don't want to do at this stage of the game. So what you'll do is you come in here, tamp your pavers, and now you're going to add your sand. Okay? So you got a couple different options of sand. I'm going to talk about just standard joining sand first, and then I'm going to talk about polymeric joining sand, sealing and cleaning. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to tamp the paver the first time. Okay, you got your edge restraint in, tamp them, everything's going to level off. Now come in, take bags of dry joining sand, dump it over the top, sweep it into the joints. Sweep most of the excess off. Okay, if you got a little bit of sand on the top, it's okay, but sweep most of the excess off, tamp it again. It's going to start pushing that sand down into the joint. Then you're going to tamp it then you're going to sweep sand another time. Okay, now if you look through the tech guide, you look through a lot of other things, they tell you need to tamp it 3 times. I think you tamp it twice. Take a look. If you need to tamp it that 3rd time, if you think you need to get more sand in the joints, or you need to kind of level the pavers out more, tamp it that 3rd time. If not, I think you're good at that 2 times. So that's that. That's putting in pavers, and at that point you're basically done. Okay, now I'm going to take a couple minutes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about maintenance, and I'm also going to talk about with this maintenance other things. For years and years, pavers were sold as no maintenance. I'm going to put in a paver patio because they don't have any maintenance on it. That's not true. They're low maintenance. They're very low maintenance, much lower than the alternatives. However, there are things that you need to do in order to make sure that this lasts long. I mentioned the edge restraint. Anything in Michigan that goes into the ground is going to come out of the ground. Okay, we got a very, very kind of harsh climate here where things they fluctuate a lot. Okay, so that edge restraint gives you the ability, when it's plastic edge restraint, to go in there and pull this up. You know, let's say in 2 years this is sticking up like this. You can simply go in there, remove the stakes, pull it out, re-level, put it back in. Okay, great. It's reusable. You know, so that's why I like it. The other thing is the joining sand. Joining sand is a critical component of any type of concrete paving stone installation. A lot of people think it's just kind of to finish the job and not really that important, but it is. And you're going to get erosion, you're going to get weed seeds, you're going to get insects in standard joining sand. What you can do to eliminate that is actually to do polymeric joining sand. Those pucks there, you pass them around, you'll see what it is. It's a sand that has polymers in it that when you activate it, it gets very hard. It's a great product, and it really reduces that amount of maintenance on it. However, you need to make sure that you read the instructions on the bag and you follow those instructions on the bag. What you're going to do is it's going to be installed basically the same way as your joining sand is. You're going to come in, you're going to compact your pavers, you're going to put the sand in it, sweep it into the joints, compact it that second time, sweep more sand into the joints, then maybe compact it a third time, maybe not. Then what you need to do is you need to blow it off with a leaf blower, then activate it. Spray, you're going to shower it with water, it's going to activate, it's going to harden up. If you don't do, and actually after that, I recommend blowing it while it's wet as well. So, you know, you blow it when it's dry and then you blow it when it's wet. So, you get done with that, it's going to harden up and it's going to work. If you don't do the steps, if you don't follow the instructions, you run the risk of polymeric joining sand haze. There's a chemical that you can use, they remove that, but you don't want to get in that situation. The other alternative, and this is going to get me into kind of my last part, is a joint stabilizer sealer. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to stabilize the joints, but it's also going to give you a sealed paver. Now, I have some information about that I can give you if you're interested, but that's also a very good alternative. Now, I'm basically done, but I'm going to... Okay, now the last thing I want to talk about is sealing and cleaning. I always get this: is sealing necessary? Do you need to seal? Do you need to clean? It's not necessary, but I think it's not a bad idea. I equate it to kind of a paint job on a new truck. You know, paints have come a long way. You don't necessarily need to wax, but if you do wax, that paint job's going to look longer or nicer longer. Same thing with pavers. You know, acid rain's real, UV rays are real. You know, standard pavers, there's going to be some aggregate showing. There's going to be some wear on these pavers. If you seal it, it's going to last longer. Different types of sealers you can use. You can use like a matte finish or water-based sealers. You can use semi-gloss sealers. It's going to be dependent on the paver and the look you're trying to achieve. What you want to do is, if you're using what's considered a film-forming sealer, these are like the solvent-based sealers. What you want to do is you want to wait 3 to 6 months before you seal, because what happens is pavers, as they dry, as they harden, you're going to release some salts, and it's called efflorescence. And if you seal too soon, you're going to trap that efflorescence in. Okay? If you're using a breathable sealer, you can take that time frame down to basically nothing. Okay? You still need to clean, you still need to have everything right, but you can seal it right away. But that's only if it's a breathable sealer. So you got to kind of look at the options, weigh the options, see what it is. It's amazing on what cleaning and sealing will do for like an older paving stone installation. You know, you come out there and you can really rejuvenate things. But take a look at that. I'm going to stick around for a while. If you listen to everything I told you today, you don't feel real comfortable, you want to plan, I'm back here every couple weeks. Here in Wixom, and every second Saturday, and then the last Tuesday every month over in Farmington. So come on out and just ask me questions. I'll be around for a bit. So thanks a lot for coming out, and good luck.